Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another powerful conversation inside Audacious. Today, I get to be with somebody that has absolutely blown me away, not just as an incredible client of mine, but as a woman deeply committed to her own evolution. Chrystelle Robinson-Tiedemann is a mentor, a teacher, and the founder of the Collective Perspective. What makes her work so profound is the way she bridges the worlds of deep emotional work, spiritual wisdom, and grounded practical embodiment. She teaches a dance, a way of moving through healing, integration, and self leadership that doesn't just stay in the realm of concepts, but actually becomes the way that we live. So many women, especially those who are deeply spiritual or devoted to the inner work, to their inner work, struggle to bring their breakthroughs into their actual reality, to their daily life. But because they understand the depths of the healing, yet their relationship, their finances, or their sense of fulfillment, it just doesn't fully reflect that wisdom. But on the other hand, we have highly ambitious women who've built financial success. They are living the dream, and somehow they still feel like something is missing. There's that sense of what else is there, and that's where Chrystelle's work comes into play. Her work challenges us to integrate all, not to just understand growth intellectually, but to actually have it reflected in every area of our lives. And that's the work of a lifetime, to be honest with you. Chrystelle, I'm so honored to have you here. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. I am beyond honored. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, watching your journey up close, your commitment to your growth, the way that you meet your own edges, your vulnerability, it has been incredible. Honestly, it's been a privilege. And I want us to start a little bit further back before we met, before the incredible that you've done in your own life. There was a moment in your life that things shifted. There was a moment of, from what I know, was deep shame of leaving home and feeling like you had something to prove. Can you take us back there? What was happening? What did that awaken in you?
Okay, yes. Um, so I'm going to share this story with you, but before I get into the story exactly, I just want to say that the story that I'm about to share really demonstrated for me. It really encapsulates for me where the core of my message and the core of my mission came from. And the core of that mission is inner work as a lifestyle. And when I say lifestyle, I mean inner work as a way of life, not something that we're dabbling in, not a hobby, but really something that we walk with in our lives. The practice of our inner work is part of our daily experience. And in that practice, I have realized, and my story is really going to share this, that it is really about being in all levels of consciousness. And so that is the higher consciousness, which is tapping into spirit, because I believe we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. And so if we want to be spiritual, we have to connect to spirit. So tapping into what's greater than us, getting out of the body, detaching, and then diving deep into the emotional body, going down inside of our shadows, down inside of our past, which is what I'm about to tell you, and then bringing it all back. What's most important is bringing it all back to center where it matters right now in our lived experience. So the story really encapsulates all of it. So I'm going to take you back to my mid 20s, and I am living at home with my parents, and I'm in my master's for occupational therapy at this time. And I had found that it was pretty difficult for me to hold down a job and do my master's at the same time. It was really challenging. So I had moved home, but I did do these kind of side gigs. So my sibling ran a event planning company. And so I would take on these gigs for them. I would host, and my best friend and I actually did it for a while, and we had these whole personas, Chris and Chris. And so I'd run these gigs. So this is Pride. This is during the summer. It's just before Pride, and I'm doing a Pride event the next day. And it's an all-day event, and I'm preparing myself, I'm getting myself all ready. And that whole day, I had been doing my best, that I thought, in not responding to my ex who had been texting me continuously. And I was like, no, we had recently broke up yet again. And I was like, no, I'm not responding. I'm not doing this. And so that went on for all of the day. I'm preparing myself. I'm focused. I'm doing this thing. It's like midnight. I'm about to go to bed. And I go to bed. And to give you a little bit of context, okay, no, so I go to bed and around 2 o'clock in the morning, my phone starts ringing off the chain. And it's on vibrate. You know, if your phone vibrates enough, you're gonna wake up. So I wake up 2 o'clock in the morning. It's the ex.
Mm,
And to give you a little bit of context here, we had broken up. The reason we had broken up this time was because on a previous break, he had done everything that he could to get me back, as usual, the full story, the full shebang, and it worked, and he got me back. And when we had gotten back together, I then found out that while we were on that previous break, he actually started seeing someone else. And not only was he seeing someone else, they were living together. And so, so I find this out and we're done again, okay? But he's doing his thing. It's worked every other time. He's doing the I'm gonna get you back thing. I actually put my foot down this time and I'm not answering. So, 2 o'clock in the morning, my phone's ringing off the hook and I answer. And he is in ripe form. He's
mm,
clearly intoxicated. He is saying all the things, the usual. You're the only one for me. I don't even like her, blah, 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 all these things. And then, as it's not working as usual, he basically goes as far as like threatening to hurt himself.
mm,
And one of the things that were at the core of my identity at this time of my life was how I showed up in friendship. I was little Miss Fix-It. I'm the one who was there. I'm reliable. You can count on me. I'm always available. There were so many areas of my life that I felt like I was so inadequate in. The one thing I nailed was friendship, you know? So I was like, I know how to be a good friend and it makes me a good person, no matter what. But to the point of even, my own detriment, going out of my way when I didn't even want to. So the fix it in me is like, okay, he's not going to hurt himself. I'm not going to let him do this. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, okay, where are you? I'm coming to get you. Now, my car was in the shop, and I had actually arranged to borrow my father's car for this gig the next day. So I literally sneak out of my house at 2 o'clock in the morning, drive downtown all the way from the east end of Toronto, pick up this drunken mess of a man, shuffle him into the car, drive him all the way back to my parents' house, sneak him in, and, try to sober him up, try to talk him down, like put him to bed. It's like, I don't know, 4 o'clock in the morning at this time. And I have to be downtown the next morning for 8 a.m. And I'm responsible. I'm not showing up. So I wake up, I get myself ready, I do everything I need to do. Who knows how much sleep I've actually had at this point, 2 hours. I shuffle him back into the car and literally drop him off. And let me remind you, this is to to where he's living with another woman. I drop him off, head to my gig. And I don't have any sort of ability to process anything. So I am emotionally drained. I am physically drained. And so I'm just like, I'm going to rally with coffee, adrenaline, overcompensation, and alcohol. And so this gig, I start like it's a whole day event. So I start from 8 o'clock in the morning and I go and I hammer through. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
So I hammer through, and the day goes well. I'm drinking, I'm drinking, we're having a good time. I'm doing the things, I'm showing up where I need to show up. I hit it out the park. I haven't shared with anybody what my mental state was at, none of that. I'm just being the person who says that they're going to do what they're going to do. So we come to the end of the night. It's like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. I am beyond exhausted and still a little Miss Fix-It. I insist that I am now not only going to like it's the end of the night and head home, I'm gonna drop everybody home first before I even drop myself home because I drove in from outside of the city. They all live in the city. Don't pay for a taxi. I'll drop you. I'll drop everyone home. I can't say that no one tried to stop me. My sibling did their very best to try to tell me not to, and I insisted I was fine. I was not fine. And I drop everyone home. And then on the final leg of my trip until I get to the highway. So the final strip before I get onto the highway, I am, there's nothing left in me at this point, and I fall asleep at the wheel and I crash headfirst into an electrical pole. And all I have on me is a bruise in the exact shape of the seatbelt, but the car is absolutely totaled. I get arrested. I, I'm taken to the station, arrested for driving while intoxicated. I'm taken to the station and, I have to call my parents for help. And my mom comes to get me. And by the time, all of this it's the next morning. And so when we get home the next morning, the way that my father looked at me, I will never forget the way that my father looked at me with such shame and disgust. And it, to it was the absolute deepest experience of shame in my life. And to this day, I've never experienced anything like that. And this is it broke me. It absolutely broke me. And this was the beginning of a pretty deep spiral down into rock bottom. And there were a series of events after that that I'm not going to get into for the sake of this story. But what I will say is that I did not have any capacity to hold my emotions. And so I literally moved out of the house. Um, my father did not speak to me for a very long time after this. Um, I just I blamed everything except myself. I was tired, I I had this beautiful mess of an ex to blame. It's his fault. I was up all night. I blamed everything except myself. And I will fast forward now to the fact that I actually managed to graduate. Somehow, by the grace of God, I actually managed to graduate. And the judge for my case dropped my charges, my DUI charges, because I had no previous anything. So dropped it down to reckless driving, took my license, slapped me with a $26,000 fine. And when I look back on all of this, my God, there's like graces throughout the entire experience. I the leniency of the judge, the fact that I hadn't made it to the highway, the fact that I hit a pole, not a person. There was at this time I obviously didn't see any of this, but there was actually graces all throughout it. And so I managed to graduate, and not only do I manage to graduate, but I managed to get a job. I was offered a job before I even finished school. And the job was in New York City. So, woohoo, escape, further escape. So, I take this job and I moved to New York City. And in between this time where I got the job and I moved to the USA, I actually did start to dabble in inner work. I was introduced to personal development for the first time. But the way that I was engaging with it was the way I was engaging with everything else. It was an escape.
Mm.
I had the perfect opportunity to be like, leave everything in the past. That was then, this is now, you know, really toxic positivity, but it gave me permission to feel good for the first time when I really hadn't felt good about anything. And so, fast forward, I'm in the States and my sibling comes to visit and my sibling comes to visit and we were raised Catholic and they still went to church at that time, though I had long time, not been practicing at all. And so when they visited, they found a church that they wanted to go to close by to my place. And when they went to mass one day and came back and was like, you really need to go and visit this church. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, no, seriously, like it's the most gorgeous church you've ever seen. You have to see this place. And so I'm like, okay, fine. There's this beautiful oasis in the middle of Brooklyn. Sure, let me go see it. So out of respect, I actually pick a mass time, so I'm not just ogling the church randomly. So I went and I stayed for a mass. It was indeed one of the most spectacular buildings I have ever seen in my life. It is stunning to this day. It's actually a basilica. And so I stayed for the mass and I'm leaving at the end. And I guess how it worked at this church was that the priest, he greeted everyone before church started and greeted everyone on the way out. He said hello, he said goodbye. And so, I try to sidle past, he's not having it. And so this man is like, I've never seen you before, introduces himself, and somehow is able to like convince me to join their youth group. He's like, you have to join this youth group. I'm like, I don't even go to church. He's like, you're at church. I'm like, that's not what I mean. I don't really do this. I was just curious. He's like, you're meant to be here. You got to do this. And I'm like, fine. So I had just moved to New York. I didn't have a lot of friends. I moved by myself. Fine, sure. Okay, I'll join this thing. But I told him straight up, like, you don't want me here. I am not your people. I don't believe in any of this stuff. He's like, uh-huh, sure, just join. So I do join. And that little Miss Fix-It part is still there. And he clearly sees something in me. Like, God bless this man. Like, in hindsight, when I think about him, like, this is a person who was truly doing what they were called to do. This was a person who was living their true calling. So he's continuously wrangling me into things. He's like, you're a leader, you need to lead in this. And I'm like, I'm not a leader. I'm what you guys call a blasphemer. I should not be doing this. He's like, no, you have to do it. Okay. So it comes to this special event, and he chooses 6 people. Of course, I'm one of them. And he would like for us to take this certain passage that he's going to read during Mass, and we are going to come up in the middle of Mass and we are going to share from a personal perspective how that passage has played out in our life. Like, what does that mean to you? He was all about like bringing bringing Catholicism into your real lived experience. So I'm like, okay. So I go home, I'm reading over this passage, and the thing that just keeps coming up is my accident. And I'm like, I don't even think about this. I don't think about it. I don't talk about it. I don't tell anybody about it. Like that we just don't go there. Everything has been an escape. We don't do this. But it keeps coming up. It's the only thing that kept coming through from what I was reading. So, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing this thing. I'm doing it right. So I'm sitting there. I'm sitting with this thing, and all of the feelings start coming up again. All of the emotions are coming up. And for the first time, I am sitting looking at this thing and feeling all the feelings. Little did I know at that point that it's emotional processing. And as I'm sitting and feeling and contemplating really on this, I hear this voice. And I mean, it's not even exactly a voice, it's more like an inner knowing that just came over me. And it said, come clean. I will never forget it. Like as clear as day, there was just a knowing inside of me, come clean. And I'm like, come clean? Like, what are you talking about? I I don't even think or I don't think about this. I don't talk about this. You want me to stand in front of a bunch of strangers and tell them about the most shameful part of my life? Okay, sure. And it was just so solid. It was just like a knowing. And so I did. And I came clean and I went in front of this congregation and I shared my story, and I was a mess. And at the end of the mass, I had the plan that I was gonna sidle the F out of there as fast as possible because I had just done the most embarrassing thing of my life, most vulnerable thing of my life. And the plan was just to get on out because not only had I just said this to a bunch of strangers, but I also had just said this to my new friends in my youth group, which in a way is actually way scarier. And those who had read during the mass, those who had done their presentation, we had to sit at the front pew. And at the end of the mass, before I could disappear, there was a lineup of people from the pew where I was sitting all the way to the back of the church of people who just wanted to look me in the eye, who wanted to shake my hand, who wanted to, they just told me they were so inspired, they were so moved. They said, thank you. Thank you. You don't know what that did for me. And I was amazed. Like I was just floored. And it was the most incredible experience because all the things, all the things that I had been reading in inner work and personal development, all of this stuff that they had been saying about compassion, self-love, in that moment, I realized that what that compassion is forgiveness. And for the first time in that moment, I I actually forgave myself for my accident when I stood up there. And it was the most incredible thing because the reaction, the way that these people were responding to me, this thing that was supposed to be like, the most shameful experience of my life, just it indicated to me like, so I'm feeling so ashamed about this and you're inspired, but I'm ashamed. So is this, there's something more to this. There's something in my past. There's something in my stories. There's something in the things that I think are untouchables. And that forgiveness that I touched upon. for the first time when I forgave myself, it spiraled out of me and the forgiveness started to bleed into other people around me. I initiated healing the rift between my father and I without requiring any apology from him for the way that he had treated me. It just came from my heart, and the strength of that totally changed our relationship, and we're closer than ever. I was able to actually start speaking again to my ex. And shockingly enough, he's one of my dear friends to this day. My husband and I actually went to his wedding. Um, we have completely created a different relationship together. And this process, this diving into these emotions, this after this was the beginning of me delving into my inner work in a completely different way. It was actually after this when I started to seek out inner work for the first time for dating, because it clicked to me. Okay, so this is what you've been doing. Where there's emotions you don't want to go into, you don't touch it. And so why couldn't I figure out the dating stuff? Because there was a lot of triggers there. There was a lot of emotions there. There was a lot of stuff I didn't want to touch there. And so I started actually delving into that. And that was the beginning of, I mean, so many openings. It was the beginning of me realizing I wanted to be a spiritual teacher. It was soon after that was my introduction to human design. I met my husband. Like the manifestations just started to come, 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 come. And when I really like zoom out and I look at the story and I look at everything that happened, all the parts of embodiment that I have deemed the importance of what we're doing here on the planet showed showed up. That voice, I'll never forget, that told me come clean. I had never gotten quiet with myself like that, enough to listen to something else outside of me coming through. And that was the part that I'm talking about in terms of higher consciousness, detaching, getting quiet, letting source speak to us. When I sat there and dove into those emotions, I had to just sit there and let myself cry and fall apart and feel it all in order to do this presentation. That was diving into the shadow. And then bringing it all back into my real life. For me in that moment, it was the sharing. It was the allowing other people to heal through it too. That changed something in my actual lived experiences. It changed my relationships. Before the inner work was here, and now it was here. And my whole life became really different. Everything shifted after that. And this is where I really discovered inner work being a lifestyle, inner work being a multifaceted part of who I am. And it has been my practice ever since.
Whew. I went through every single emotion listening to your story, and I can't even imagine what it must have been to go through your life the way that you did and still have the success and doing your master's degree and getting a job offer and all that stuff while the what I'm hearing, Chrystelle, is that the way that you cope with life most of the time was escaping from your problems, escaping from pain, and putting the archetype of the little Miss Perfect and or the fix it girl, as you call it, fix it girl, that I don't want to look here, but I'm going to fix your problem. And this is
Mhm.
something that a lot of us can relate to, is that for anybody who really is always there for other people, always finding a solution for a problem, majority of time, if not all the time, is because there is a way to escape my own pain and my own problems. Same thing with gossip and talking about
Mhm.
other people, like read because I don't want to look at myself. I don't want to deal with the emotions that I have, but it's so much easier to just involve myself to other people's lives. That way I don't have to feel the pain. And there was something else that you mentioned that I think is really important to dive into is that even when it comes to inner work, even when it comes to when we learn, there's moments in our lives, and I went through the not the same story, but there was so I was had that downward spiral. And then came the inner work, it came law in the shape of law of attraction, it came to my life.
Hmm.
And the first introduction of it was all about positive thinking and thinking about what you want to manifest and what you don't want to manifest. And I think the start is like this, I'm drowning and there is like this lifesaver. So
Hmm.
I'll grab onto it. That's okay. Because if I'm being consumed by all this shame and pain and I have no way of processing it, I have no way of helping myself, then I'm just going to drown. But if I have a moment of just, okay, let me come out of this. Let me just okay, listen to the positive thinking and all of it. And then from a place of like that, not chaos, now I have the capacity to start touching things, as you call it, to go there because now my capacity is growing. And I think that what you shared about, going to that mass and God bless his soul, like he saw that now you are actually available. Now you are ready to take a look at what happened and come clean so that now you can go for the bigger desires, go for the life that you were meant to live. And I love that it came in the form of, now my dating, taking responsibility in my things that had happened in my past, because that's what really is. When we
Hmm.
escape is because we don't want to take responsibility for our part in creating what we have created,
Hmm.
whether it's a relationship, whether it is a job, whether it is our finances, it all is coming down to it was their fault, not my fault. And so what's next? And then the cycle keeps on repeating itself. But
Exactly.
what you explain that even in your dating and relationship, well, let's face it, when we keep on, when a man keeps on proving to us that they're not where the kind of relationship that we want, but we keep on picking up the phone. And even if it's not to get back with them, but we want to save them from something, it is my co-creation. It is me
Hmm.
participating
Hmm.
into that dynamic. So it all came to now taking responsibility for what happened, but most importantly, to forgive yourself for what happened. So that was incredible. Thank you for sharing all of that. And like I said before, your vulnerability and the level of depth that you can feel really transfers to. So I just want to reiterate that it is, I know it's not easy because I can feel your emotions, but it is truly a gift that you're giving to other people, because we do have all these shames that it's
Hmm.
too painful to touch, but it's the liberation at the on the other side of it.
Hmm.
I
Thank you.
want us to talk about embodiment, because this is something that you teach, and it's not just a concept that it sounds good, but it's a way of living. What does embodiment really mean to you? How do you explain it to people who are like, okay, what does that really mean?
So I like to call it a dance.
Mhm.
This is what I think it is. And it is, I think the way that the kind of concept that is out there is very much, it's like you learn something, I've got it now, and then you do it. It's in you now. But really, I think that true embodiment is like this constant dance, and it's this flow between all of these levels of consciousness that I mentioned. And it isn't really possible for us to be in any one zone only and truly be embodied, because what are you embodying? To me, it's self. The thing that you're actually trying to embody is you. It's me. I'm trying to embody Chrystelle. That's what I'm trying to embody. Not that strategy, not that particular teaching, not that way to catch a man. Like it's me. And you're the only one who's going to do that. You're the only one that's going to practice that. And we can use all of these different teachings. We can use coaches, mentors. We can all guide other people into how they can change things in their life. But ultimately, the embodiment is them practicing being self. And you can only really do that is if you're diving into all of these levels of your consciousness. So it's truly being able to detach. If you can't step out and get quiet, why? Why? You know? And so if there's any level of this that we're afraid of, we're not truly embodying who we really are. So it's not fully authenticity. And I see embodiment and authenticity being very deeply connected. So to me, what I teach and in the collective perspective, it's like we really practice this dance together. But embodiment is detaching and being quiet with yourself, sitting with yourself and hearing the voice of the universe. It's then being able to feel what comes up, feel everything that comes up, feel the trigger. It doesn't matter how many strategies I learned in dating. It wasn't until I'm there in front of the man and I'm triggered to all hell and I'm doing some messy action and I'm messing up and I'm not getting it right and then I try again. This is the whole process. And then it's really bringing everything back to the center, back to consciousness. And this is where the practice happens. So it's all of it, taking care of myself where I feel the feelings and then coming back and practicing again. Taking care of when the feelings come up, coming back and practicing again. Zoning out, listening to sources, guidance, tapping into intuition, coming back and practicing. This is embodiment. So it's not clean. It's not it's not just like, oh, you nailed it, embodied. No, it's a moment to moment experience.
That is literally the perfect explanation for it because there is, I actually was having this conversation with one of my private client this morning that she was saying that, I went on a date and finally I didn't have the checklist that I always go through. She has like little tools and stuff that she has for me and this and this and this. Like I actually was me. I was wholly me, and everything that I've been practicing just came through. And I don't know what happened. And you like, this is exactly what happened. You practice and you practice and you practice and you come back and reflect and you look at the triggers and practice. You do it so much, then it becomes a part of you, but it doesn't become Sharzad or Chrystelle's version of this is what it should look like. It
Mhm.
is the who that you really are. That now with these concepts and now with the authenticity, like you said, because without it, if every woman is going to be like, okay, these are the tools, this is what I should say, this is what I should do, where is the magic? And for how long can we
Mhm.
keep up the facade? For how long am I going to be this with and not feel like I'm a fraud
Mhm.
because I am not, I'm still following a checklist as opposed to really feeling it in my bones and saying what that flavor, what that freedom that is going to give me to be who I am. So I really love that you bring the authenticity is a part of the embodiment. It's not just a bunch of things that I learned from a teacher and now I follow them and there are my results. Here we go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you work with women who are either deeply spiritual, they're doing their inner work, yet they're struggling to see the external results in their lives, or you work with highly ambitious or successful people, but they
Mhm.
feel like something is missing. What is the biggest blind spot from them from having the fulfillment? Both cases. Because the spiritual ones is not seeing the results, the ones that is seeing the results feels like something is missing. So what is going on there?
Okay. So, I mean, and I was totally here. So I know exactly. I mean, it really does come down to, again, there's probably some area of the three that we're avoiding. Okay. So it's whether we're not ready to detach, we're avoiding feeling, and or we're just kind of leaving everything in concept and actually refusing to step into the practice part, which is an absolute necessary aspect. But I love to say, like, there's three things that I know to be true. My life experience has taught me three things that I know to be true. And I find this very helpful to use with my clients. And one, there's always another perspective.
Mm,
and it's actually why I called the collective perspective, because when we can start to gain greater perspective, not just from ourselves, but from other people, be in a place where you're actually open to look at what life is giving you, what's showing up in front of you, and take that objective view, we gain perspective everywhere. So there's always another perspective. Number two, when we can really nail this forgiveness thing, hold ourselves, be able to hold ourselves in our emotions, hold ourselves in our past. If we're being really honest, in some way, how are you benefiting? How
mm.
are you benefiting from where you are exactly right now? Because there is some way that you are benefiting right now. And then number three, which ties right into number two, there's most likely an emotion you're avoiding.
Yeah.
And so on one of those three, diving deep into that, we're usually able to come to where the block is. There's something that feels too uncomfortable to touch. This is what I believe.
That is so beautiful and so true. I absolutely love there's other perspective. There is and that how collective perspective was born, and the whole concept of what am I avoiding here? And that's the part that gets tricky. And I would love for you to talk on that is like when you realize, okay, this is what I'm avoiding. This is the feeling that I've been avoiding, and you don't know now what to do with that. Like, what
Mhm.
do now I'm avoiding it. Okay, here it is. Here is the shame, and you said you told your story, but for a woman that is like, okay, I'm benefiting from this because, for example, I want to start my business or I want to go to the next level, but then I have to make sacrifices, or I would have to now perhaps have more boundaries, and that feels icky, and that feels like, I'm going to disappoint people, or I'm going to make people feel like I am, not relatable anymore. All those feelings come up. So these feelings show up. Do you just sit with them by yourself? What do you do in order to be able to go deep and not get like swallowed up by all of it? You know what I mean?
Mhm. No, I think that this is the perfect time to seek coaching, seek mentorship, seek guidance. There are so many beautiful somatic practices out there. I actually started out with doing tapping because if we go way back into my story, one of the ways that all of those years of not feeling those feelings manifested was through a pain disorder. So I didn't actually end up walking away from that accident with no injuries. They just didn't show up right at first. But I actually had whiplash, and then about a year and a half later, I had major spinal issues. And I know and believe, very similar to Louise Hay's work, like I know that a lot of our physical stuff is actually a manifestation of emotional wounds. And so I started diving into somatic practices, and one of the ones that I used was tapping, which is emotional freedom technique, EFT, and that was incredibly helpful for me. And you can tap for absolutely anything, but I definitely, and I even say it in the collective perspective, I've mentioned that if there's anything we're diving into and you feel like I think we're all extremely intelligent. I
Mm.
think that like if it feels like if I touch this, I'm gonna freaking fall apart, seek assistance. You don't have to do this alone. There are so many resources out there, and this is where I really recommend that people book a one-on-one session. This is where seek out trauma work, a trauma and practitioner, seek out somatic processing, get help with it. But really, there's like also at the end of the day, we also have to kind of release the belief that it's supposed to feel okay. You know what I mean? There's both of them. Like if you really, really feel like, okay, I'm gonna freaking fall apart, definitely get yourself assistance. But if this is more like, which is kind of more where I was at, where it's just like, it just feels bad. It just feels ick. And I like control. Start trusting in yourself. I want you to start really trusting in yourself. And this is where really that number one step of detaching becomes so powerful because I felt, even though I was ashamed, I was afraid, it's hard to describe, but I really did feel like there was something there was a loving energy. Something was holding me. Something that all I saw was shame. Something else was looking at it with love.
Mm.
Enough to tell me, come clean. Something else was holding me, and I've heard it time and time again from clients, but when we really go into this space, they're always shocked that it felt so supportive. And so just going out on a limb, having a little bit of faith, and just allowing yourself to get messy, allowing yourself to feel like this doesn't feel okay. It's not supposed to. It's fine. It's okay to not feel okay. It's okay to be uncomfortable, and we're always avoiding discomfort. And then also to really, if it really does, there's some serious trauma there, or it really feels out of control, seek assistance. This is where groups are so powerful, because sometimes it's just a matter of, I think I'm the only one. And then you message it in the group and it's like everybody feels that way. And it's like, oh, okay, maybe I can do this, you know? So really taking a step in like seeking the assistance, prioritizing that because you're worth that. It's worth everything. And also just understanding that it's not always going to feel good, and that's okay. You're probably doing it right.
I love that. It reminds me of another conversation I was having in this interview series that she reminded us that the beginning normally feels like a detox, and detox doesn't feel good.
It
When
does
you are
not.
the first few days of it, you're going to hell and back because your body now feels safe enough to release all the toxins, and when they're coming up, it does not feel good, but we all know at the end of that tunnel, it feels like tons of weight has been shed, and that's exactly what the point is. But I really love EFT that you mentioned that. That is a powerful tool. And working with trauma-informed practitioners or EMDR or I love private mentorship, but like you said, in group settings, the healing that comes from that, because
Absolutely.
like you mentioned at the beginning, when you said it in a group setting, when you first came clean, the way that it was received and the way that it helped other people, it lifted something. It made it from a dirty little secret to something
Yes.
that helped not just you, but other people as well. So that's why, especially, I think Women's Circle is so powerful,
Mm.
especially when you're in the right environment, because in our shadows, in high schools, those group settings were traumatizing for,
Mhm.
when the cool girls or the mean girls, they made us feel like a freak. But now intentionally having these circles that we come to, and then we share our biggest, dirtiest secrets, and we're embraced and we are loved and they feel inspired, it rewrites history. And I think that it's so, so healing. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I wanted to circle back to something that you mentioned earlier, because I think it is one of your absolute, not I think, I know it is your gifts. It's human design. You started your business with that, and I want you to talk a little bit, what role did human design play in you knowing yourself even more, understanding yourself more, and do you still incorporate that in your business and in the way you help clients?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a huge part. Um, Human design, I think, really is the greatest self-discovery tool
Mm,
because it breaks down immediately that belief that most of us have from our upbringings, from conditioning, from our culture, from society, that we're all supposed to be the same. And we're not. And none of us are the same.
mm,
And it really gives permission. And it's almost like, I remember having that feeling like, should I even need permission from someone to say that I'm it's okay to be me? Well, kind of, like I did. The truth is I really did. It made a huge difference for me because I had such a long pattern of telling myself I was wrong and not fitting in, and I couldn't get it right, and I didn't play by the rules properly. But human design immediately, like when you have your chart read, it's right there. There's something about it just being like right there that this is the kind of person that you are. This is the way your energy works. This is the role that you were meant to play and not anybody else's role. That gave me so much freedom. And I'm a 4/6, which is the profile in human design. You're also a 4/6,
Yeah.
I believe. And so part of that is being a role model and learning about the arc of the story of the role model really shifted things for me. It really solidified. I had already started this forgiveness journey, but it really solidified it for me because I realized that part of being a role model means that I was meant to live some experiences that were challenging and then learn from them and share from them. And that is where my wisdom comes from. It allowed me to feel like pride in that, acceptance in that. And I think the biggest thing for human design is self-acceptance. So I use it a lot. We use it in everything. Intuition is a huge part of what I teach and encourage. And we're actually working on intuition a lot this month in the collective perspective. And the human design authority, which is the way that people are meant to make decisions, the specific way that you are meant to make decisions. There's 8 different types. It really kind of helps people to have a more tangible hold on intuition, the way that your intuition speaks with you. So I've been helping the different members to tap into their intuition through their authority. And it's been really amazing. Like they're reporting all of these like wins and stories, and it's so amazing. Actually, I'm posting one on my Instagram today. But it really helps people to see firsthand you are meant to be you, and that's it. Nobody else. Nobody else, no matter what anyone told you, just you. And then it really gives you these like tangible tools to be able to walk with self in your authenticity. So huge, huge part. I'll forever use it. I adore it. I love it. Changed my life.
I couldn't agree with you more. When I first learned about my human design, I'm a manifestor for 6, and it made a lot of sense in a way that how my people pleasing tendencies used to come from wanting to make sure that I'm not offending anyone, wanting to make sure that I am not, ruffling any feathers, as opposed to owning of who I really am as somebody that is supposed to initiate, as some supposed to have a closed aura. It doesn't mean that I have to repel people, but I don't know if it was a deep down fear that I was so afraid of losing people that I just wanted to make sure that I need to do everything in my power to keep people in my life.
Mhm.
And that fear, when I learned about it, I think it liberated me. So I absolutely love it. I think it's a incredible tool that is supposed to set you free, not put you in a box. Oh, you're this type, then you're not supposed to be doing this. I don't think
Yeah.
that's the purpose of it, but yeah, it's a liberation tool. So I highly recommend it.
Yes.
Chrystelle, I want you to like we tapped into the collective perspective. We talked about it a little bit, but I do want you to talk about it a little bit more here because I think it's such an incredible container that you have. And so what is inside of collective perspective? What do women go through when they join? Is it just for women, by the way?
I mean, technically, I guess no. We don't have any men in there.
Yeah,
So
so it's
I do think my heart really does speak to women. My energy does speak to women. So it's not that there's a hard rule that it's just for women, but yeah, kind of.
it's informative. Got it. Got it. So tell us a little bit about it. What is inside of collective perspective?
So in the collective perspective, we actually kind of mimic the entire story arc that I went through. So the practice that we do in there, we use the gene keys. And it's kind of like an anchor for us. And we can use anything, but I love The Gene Keys, which is a book by Richard Rudd. And it's kind of similar to human design, but it describes human beings across archetypes. And there's 64 archetypes. And we take a different passage every month. It's kind of similar to what the priest had me do, but we actually examine our lived experience, our current life, our patterns, our past through the lens of that passage, and we extract all of the lessons for practical implication. So it's it acts as kind of like a tether while we do the embodiment dance. So We are detaching, so we're getting quiet. Last month, we were all about pausing. The focus was on pause. How do you want to pause? That can be meditation. Contemplation is a pause. There's so many different ways to do that, but get quiet. And so we have this tether, no matter what layer of consciousness that you're on, whether we're in the detachment or whether we're down, diving deep into the emotions as we read the passage, different emotions come up, different things come up, and it's our opportunity to sit with what's asking for our attention. And then we bring it right back full circle into our heart center, into our lived experience. How is what's coming up affecting the way that you interact in your relationships? How is it showing up in your job? How is it showing up in your parenting? How is it showing up in your friendships? And we share. We simply share and we hold each other through it. We encourage each other. We gain through different perspectives because the amazing thing is we're all reading the same passage. We're all having different experiences. So this is where that intuition piece comes up. Like it doesn't really matter what you read. It could be a poem. Yes, we're using the Gene Keys, which I love, but it could be anything. It's just the tether that holds us as we dance through the different layers of consciousness. But your intuition is going to tell you where your attention is needed. It's going to tell you where that healing is needed. And so we do it in a group together so that we have accountability, so that we have support, that it feels safe, it's loving. We celebrate our wins together. It's a space to really practice inner work as a lifestyle. That's what.
Ooh, I love that. There's something like so potent about everybody reading the same thing or experiencing, having an experience, but then having their individual experience, the wisdom, the things, their lessons that they bring. And then it becomes a whole like like this sphere of wisdom that is all there. It's a collective of all of it, but then you get to tap into it. So I think it's so powerful. We're definitely going to link the collective perspective in the notes so they can take a look at it, because obviously that I love the way that you created it based on your personal experience and how it changed your entire life. So it is a proof of concept. You already know that this works. So
Yes.
I love that for everyone else. So
I also I put in there there's different teachings in there. So I randomly share different teachings that come up about different somatic practices that we can use, like support on each level. So I share things about human design. So everyone's human design is in there. And so that everyone knows what everyone's type is and their profiles. And I share all these random teachings, whether it's about human design or intuition or emotional processing. There's always something being dropped in there. And to make it even more amazing, everybody that is a member of the collective perspective automatically always gets 22% off of any of my other services. So everything that we need is in there, you know?
that is amazing. Absolutely amazing. So I know we've been talking for a while and I can obviously talk to you forever.
Forever.
I wanted to end with one last message for the woman listening right now who is deeply self-aware. She is committed to her growth and her work, but she still feels like there is something that she needs to do. There is the next level for her. What is one thing that you want her to hear today, or do you have a solution for her?
Yes. There's one thing that I want her to hear, and this is going to be maybe a little bit of an odd answer, but if you're deeply spiritual, if you are, really tapping into your inner work, you're self-aware, and you still feel like something is missing, I want to validate you that you're right, and that intuitively, we know what's going on with us. So if you feel that there's something that's missing, you're probably right. But what I want you to know is that whatever it is, it's not outside of you. It's within you. There is an aspect of yourself that is calling for you to attend to. It's calling for healing from you. And oftentimes, most of the time, what we're looking for is something outside of ourselves that we think is missing. And there's really an area within you that is begging for your attention. It's a call for further self-discovery, whether it's a matter of really learning to detach more, whether it's a matter of where are the emotions that you are afraid of that you don't want to tap into, or it's a matter of I'm very happy to keep everything here, but I'm just not going to practice it in my real life.
Mm.
There is something, there is a part of you that is asking for you to further discover. And that's all part of the process. So that can be started immediately. It doesn't come from outside of you. Whether you want to do that in a group or with support or just on yourself, it's time to go in within.
I love that you didn't sugarcoat it and say, no, you're doing great. Everything is fine. It's like if you know there's something's missing, something probably is. Doesn't have to be an external thing. It has to be, it is within you. Just listen and let it be a part of the process because you're gonna find it. You're gonna find it.
Exactly.
So absolutely love that. So, Chrystelle, I know that women listening are gonna be, they are obsessed with you and they want to hear more from you. They want to be in your role. So, which social media do you love to use where people can come and watch you and learn more from you?
My Instagram, so at Coaching with Cree is probably the best place to find me, and also on my YouTube at Coaching with Cree. And my podcast is just restarting this week, season 2. Woohoo!
Yeah.
So my podcast is the Love and Meaning Podcast, and you can listen on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or on YouTube. But Instagram and YouTube are the two places to find me.
Perfect. We will have all the links there because your podcast is out of this world. I'm so excited for season 2. And I also know you have a generous gift for our audience. So if you want to talk about that and let them get their hands on it.
Yeah. So I've created a audio accompaniment, and what it is an audio guide to answer the question, what do I do now? It is an age-old question. It's always coming up. So this is a beautiful guide. It really covers everything that I care about when it comes to embodiment, but I think it's pretty life-changing, and this is something that I use myself. So my gift to you.
Well, thank you so much because we are continuously asking that question, and I think you guiding them through that is going to be so, so, so helpful. So we'll have the link for that as well. Once again, thank you, gorgeous, for being here, for sharing your heart, your wisdom. You are truly a gem, and I'm so honored to have you in this summit and so excited for everyone to hear our beautiful conversation.
Thank you. This was so much fun. Thank you for having me.